Welcome back to the Profitability Project. I am so excited to be here again with Kenzie. It's just the two of us today. And I was actually interviewed on a podcast the other day. And one of the rapid fire questions that the host asked me was which has a bigger opportunity to impact profit, pricing or expenses? And without missing a beat, I said pricing. And that is what we're going to talk about on today's episode. But before we jump into that, it's July. We're in the thick of the craziest summer that we've ever had as a firm. And it's great and exciting and wild, but we just had the 4th of July. Like, Kenzie, catch us up. How are the things? How was your holiday?
4th of July was great. We spent it with family, had a good time. It just feels like it's never ending. We're just go, 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 go all the time. So,
It is
yeah,
Becca needs to come back from maternity leave. Like,
truly.
who told her to have another baby? I don't know. You have taken the brunt of that. It is crazy. But, like, I'm getting ready to go out of town tomorrow. And so, like, I'm taking Thursday to drive, Friday to drive again to a wedding. Um, and then, like, next week, I'm taking Thursday to drive home. And there's just not enough hours in the day to get it all done.
There really
And,
isn't.
like, Mark has football camp this week and next week, and so, like, our schedule kinda changed again, and I'm like, it's just crazy. I'm finding myself ready for school to get back in session. I think it's mostly that I'm, like, craving routine. The
Yeah.
lack of routine is just putting me over the edge. Um So, yeah, but, we've got yet another new hire starting next week, which is so exciting. I, yeah, it's been a good summer. It's been
Yeah.
every
It's
year we're
going
like,
by
"Summer's
fast.
so slow," and then it's crazier than tax season.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wild.
Like our kids are going to be back in school in no time.
I know.
And then summer's going to be over and we're going to wish that it was summer again.
I know. I know, truly. Yeah, and we're just, like, barreling towards football season, which makes me wanna vomit, so
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do this all the time. Like, the schedule
I
change is
don't.
just crazy. You don't? Lies. Um, Kenzie and I are also really into beading right now with a D, not a T, not beating. That's what my sister kept thinking I was saying, that I'm really into beating. I don't beat people. Beads with a D. Um, I kind of like how did this whole thing start? Did you introduce me to it? How did I
No, I think you did. I thought.
Yeah. I don't know, it came up on my TikTok,
Yeah.
and then it never left my TikTok, and now, literally hundreds of dollars later, I've made a couple necklaces. I made
Necklaces.
a beaded succulent, which I'm obsessed with, it's
Oh,
so cute
yes.
and fun. So that's kind of what I've been I've been doing, and I know your girls are into it too. Your girls will do it with you
They
too.
ask almost every day to do necklaces and stuff, so
So fun. It's
it is
very
fun.
therapeutic too.
It is.
I
Like, I
link
think at one point, my entire family was at the table, like, doing some kind of beading activity, whether it was, like, helping the kids or, like, doing our own. We
Yeah.
just, like, sat there for probably 2 hours just doing stuff.
Yes. And the bag charms, I've got my bag charm right here if you're watching on YouTube. I made a Jordan high
Yes.
school
So
bag
cute.
charm, football.
So
This
cute.
is my first one. I think I wanna go more like this direction next
Yeah,
time.
it also, I think, depends on the bag you have. I have a 4th of July one on my purse somewhere, and 2 of my little dangler things fell off, probably because they were too long, but also
Mhm.
I think the little clasp that I had didn't work very well. But, like, it doesn't sit sideways on my bag, it sits like this, so then
Vertically.
it hangs weird.
Yeah.
Learning
Yeah.
experience.
It's
So,
taking a little experimenting.
yeah.
The
I did
bag
make some
charms I
really
haven't
cute
tried.
charms or things for my girls. I don't know. Let me go grab it. I think I have Gracie. Hold on, please.
Hold please. I know this is why everyone tunes into our podcast is to listen to us about our hobbies and activities and not about business profitability.
Yeah. I made these for my girls.
Yes, they're so cute.
They have like a little charm on them and then they have their names.
Oh my gosh, so
Anyway,
cute.
they're super
Yes.
fun and I had a blast doing these. So I'm gonna make some more of
Yes.
these. But
Yeah, I got paracord and I was gonna do some, and then I realized that the letters I bought are only vowels.
yeah.
And
A-E-I-O-U.
unfortunately, all of my kids have consonants in their name. So out of luck there. But yeah, we've been having a good old summer with that. And then Kenzie and I will be in the same state next week. I don't know when we're gonna find time to see each other, but
Figure something out.
it'll
I'm
be
sure.
great. All right, let's talk about pricing. I have teased this episode in every episode, I think, because pricing is one of those things that I get really passionate about. Um, as if business finance in general, I'm not passionate about. I get a little fired up on all of it, but pricing is a big one because it hits home for me. It's something I struggle with as an accountant. I remember the first 3 years that we were in business. It felt like every consultant that I had or coach or mentor, I was like, okay, but like, how do I charge? Like, what am I doing here? And then they would tell me, and I still like couldn't get myself to do it. And for the first time in our business, I feel like I'm just starting to get that dialed in and like feel good about it. I still think I have a long ways to go, but I'm just the freaking textbook consultant that loves to dish out advice and can never take it. So this episode's for you guys, not for me, okay? I want you guys to take this advice, not mine. Um, but we we look at pricing as accountants as a math problem, but I learned, and I'll get into a couple of the stories where I learned this, but 90% of pricing has nothing to do with math. The math is relevant and that provides context, and we need the math in order to make a good decision, but that is not going to make our decision for us. And I think that a lot of people come to us and hope that because we are logical and we use math, that we're going to tell them this is the number you should charge. And I'm happy to do that. Um, but it's very rarely that I'm like, well, 1 + 1 = 2, so charge two. It's usually you have to charge at least two, but based on your market and where you're located and your audience and all these other factors, we could go from anywhere from 2 to 10, right? Like there's so many things. And then it's about getting the owner on board and making sure we don't piss off customers and blah, 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 blah. There's a million things going on.
Yes.
And I inevitably always get pushback when I tell owners they need to raise their prices. And it's because it really comes down to like three fears that they have, um, at least that I've seen in my experience. And the first one that comes up a lot is comparison. They're always like, well, my competition, and I always want to go, I don't give a shit. I'm always like, la 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 la, don't care. You're wasting my time. Because I don't care. And the second one is worthiness, which that one I'm like, okay, I get it. That one's hard. And unfortunately, I can do my best, but I am not a licensed therapist, so you might need to work on that with her. And then the third one is loss aversion or you're worried that your customers are gonna get ticked off and leave and you won't have any customers to sell to if we raise prices. And I'm joking and being harsh about all three of them, but they are real and I have experienced them myself. Um, and every business owner feels those three to some extent. So, um, back to the original question on the podcast that I was on last week, uh, whether I think business owners should start by cutting expenses, or I guess the question was really more like which has a bigger opportunity for profit, is expenses or prices. Um, and the number one reason I said prices is because business owners are well versed in cutting expenses. They know how to scrape by. That's a verb. Take the scraps is, I don't know, I was combining phrases. They know where to cut back, and usually by the time they've come to us, they've done that and they've done it in spades. And so the reason that I think pricing has a bigger opportunity is because that is the stone they leave unturned. Because they don't want to, because they're scared for the three reasons we just talked about. Um And I think it's easier to cut expenses because that's something we have so much control over. And again, there's not a ton of emotion tied to expenses. I mean, salaries, there's definitely a lot of emotion, but software, we're like, "Oh, we'll cut it." It's whatever. And that feels like action. It is action. And so it's easy to jump into action um with expenses where pricing comes with so much question mark, emotion, fear,
Yeah.
whatever you wanna call it.
Even like potentially more work too, like
Yeah.
because if you're going to raise your prices, you have to go into sales meetings with the confidence that like
Mm.
this is what we are worth. And so you have to really do a lot of work like on yourself and your sales pitch and all of that to be able to walk into a meeting and leave that meeting going, yeah, I told them exactly what I'm worth and why our pricing is the way that it is, and for them to sign. So, like, I think too that like that comes with a lot more work than like just cutting expenses because I can cancel a software in 5 minutes today if I needed to, you know?
So true, and raising prices takes 3 therapy appointments, a ton of market research,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
validation from your best friend and your parents.
Yeah.
I love that because 'cause you're absolutely right. I can do expense cutting in a spreadsheet behind the scenes from my computer, and I can do it pretty quickly. Pricing is not, unfortunately, that simple. But big risk, big reward, right? The more work you put in, the easier increasing prices is a little bit easier to increase profit. So, um and actually let's get into that a little bit more. Kens, what do you feel from the outside when a client comes to TPP? What does underpricing look like, feel like? I mean, what are those first signals that we're kind of looking at each other going, "Oh, yeah, this is a pricing problem."
Yeah. Um, I think that one of them is like you're not paying yourself
Mhm.
enough. Like that's one of the biggest things because they're like, "Oh, I don't have enough money." Like it's all being like we're getting income and then we have our expenses and so I can take the brunt of the deal, which we have a whole podcast on. Go listen to it if that
Yes.
um we've talked about this too, but um I think that's one of the things. The other thing I think is like it's almost like they're stuck in quicksand. Like they're trying to run in quicksand and they can't get traction. They're like in this hamster wheel of like I'm getting more clients, but like I'm not making more money. And that is a pricing issue. Or like we've seen it where I feel like because we were underpriced, we were getting clients that we didn't like or didn't work well with, or we weren't maybe the right fit for them. But because we didn't have the right pricing structure, they were like, yeah, that's great, whatever. And then it just ended up not being a great like relationship, working relationship. And so that's another thing if, like, the businesses are coming to us and be like, "Oh, we're just really struggling, like, we have these clients, and they're just, like they want us to do all of these things, but, like, they're not really paying us enough to do all of those things."
Yes.
Pricing is
Um, End of podcast. Really, you just like told all the things.
Sorry, probably.
If you're experiencing that, raise your prices. Thanks for joining today. Like that is exactly what I would say. In fact, I wrote some articles about this. I did a 3 series pricing situation. What am I trying to say? I wrote 3 articles about pricing and for this month on Substack, and we're basically going to summarize it all here. So whether you prefer to read or listen to a podcast, it's the same information. But uh, the first one is about the emotion behind pricing and why it's difficult to raise our prices. The second is the hamster wheel, and it is actually a story about Kenzie and I and our business and our journey with pricing and that hamster wheel that we have been on and sometimes still are on, and how we discovered that no matter how much we worked, we couldn't get ahead because we refused to raise prices. And so I'll get into that in just a second, but I love what you said. And then it's funny because I had the realization last night when I was writing the third article about the alignment with our clients, and how that was such an issue with pricing, because I was writing about how we've signed more clients at our higher prices than we ever did at our low prices. And I'm like, I remember telling, um, gosh, a friend of mine who had encouraged me to raise prices, who's also, she's a CPA and does something similar. She was like, you really need to raise your prices. And I remember being like, no, but you don't understand. I got into this to help baby businesses. Like my target market is baby businesses. They can't afford me. And looking back, I'm like, oh, she was so right. And we are still helping baby businesses at our higher prices, but we're helping the right baby businesses. Um, and our retention is so much better because we've raised our prices. Um, which is crazy to say out loud, because if you're like struggling with this fear of, oh, all my customers are going to leave me if I raise prices, sitting here today saying our retention is better because we've raised our prices.
Yep.
It's just kind
And
of this weird like mindset shift. And I don't mean to get too woo woo because I'm a big, like, I'm an accountant. Like, I don't, whatever. But it is really weird how your business shows up differently, how you show up differently, how your clients show up differently. Um, when you do pull the trigger, and we're talking a lot about service-based businesses, but this is true for product-based businesses too. The people that are buying your product are going to show up differently. Different people are going to show up to your business when you change prices on your product as well. So the same rules apply. Okay, so here's the story of TPP and our pricing journey. When I started this business, as we all know, it was an accident. And so when people were reaching out for help and I still had a day job, I said, sure, I'll charge you what I charge my employer at an hourly rate. LOL. Because how, as an accountant, did I not understand that I was having additional expenses outside of just my time now that I was the business owner? I don't know. Cute little Joey was so naive. We'll blame it on my maternity leave postpartum brain at the time just to save face. But like, I was like, yeah, an hourly rate. Literally, the first invoice I ever sent was a PDF from a Word document that I used a Word template, and I calculated my hours and multiplied it by $30 an hour. And that was my monthly bill. And so cute. So cute. Here's the reason that doesn't work, because you have expenses outside of your time. So obviously that went on and didn't work. Then I hired Kenzie, and brought her in. And then I said, okay, wait. And of course, it also didn't occur to me that I'd need like a margin on top of employees. So I was like, well, if I pay her this much, then we'll just charge that much and it'll be great. Who, genuinely, who put me in charge? It's fine. We live and learn. But what we discovered very quickly is we were growing, and I quit my job and it was going really well. And like, we talk about this as such a success story, which it was in a lot of ways. But behind the scenes, Kenzie and I are hiring, trying to bring people in, and we're just throwing proposals out left and right. and charging people hourly rates that didn't make any sense. And pretty soon we could not keep up with the amount of work that we were doing, uh, despite the fact that we were in a hiring frenzy. We were bringing people in, bringing people in, bringing people in, and we still couldn't keep up with the work. And I was like, I don't know how we're going to do this because every time we would bring on a client, we'd bring on an employee to help with that client part time, probably. And then I like could not get through my head why the math wasn't mathing. I'm like, why? You know, and it sounds so dumb, especially because this is my literal job. But again, just remember, give me a little grace here. I'd never owned a business. And also, I can tell other people how to run their business. For whatever reason, it never clicks in my own brain. So sorry. But that hamster wheel lasted till yesterday. No, just kidding. There's a version of the hamster wheel that still exists, don't you
Yeah,
think?
absolutely.
But it's gotten a lot better. But I don't know. Do you feel like there was a moment, Ken's, where it clicked for us that we were like, "Oh, this is actually not like the more sales that we get, the less money we make."
Yeah. I kind of want to say, and this had a little bit to do with pricing and a little bit of like we were kind of cleaning house with like clients and like getting to a point where we were like, we only want clients that we want to work with, not ones that we're like appeasing. I think when we fired that big client and we made that decision, I think that's when we really took a turn in our business. Like pricing, we realized our worth, what we were worth, what we could do for people. Don't get me wrong, that client, we learned a lot about ourselves, about business, about what our team could do for people, and they just weren't the right client for us. And we honestly, they needed in-house people. I think like they just needed a full stack finance team for themselves in-house, and we just couldn't do that for them. But I think that when I think about like our business as a whole, I think that kind of moment when you and I sat down and we said, are we gonna do this? Like, is this gonna tank our business, and is this the worst mistake we're ever gonna make? We were like, "Let's do it." Like, Jesus, take the wheel, like, truly,
Truly.
just kind of like, we have to do it. Like, if we want to grow our business and we want to actually do what, like, our dreams as owning a business together, like, if we want to achieve those, we can't have this anymore. And ever since then, like, our business took off after that. Like, literally, Joey and I were like, "Let's just hope we can make payroll after this, like, we'll figure it out," you know? And we got more clients, and then our pricing was still an issue, but, like, I feel like we knew our worth after that. Like, we were like, "No, we're worth this," you know? And so, I would say that kind of moment was the time where, like, our business really took a turn where it was like, "Okay, we know our worth. We know what people should pay us. And like, this is how we're going to do this."
Yeah. Wow, I just like went on a full roller coaster of emotion reliving that with you. Like I feel a little sick and a little
Yeah.
nauseous,
Yeah. I
but I'm
did not
also
think that was going to come up in this podcast today, but here we are.
well, it's funny because I completely blocked it out. I'm like, I don't know.
Yes. Trauma
When you
block
were like,
that.
"Is this the worst mistake?" I'm like, "Oh, I remember that conversation. That was
Yeah.
scary. I
Yeah.
can't believe we did that."
I know. I know.
But I'm also like, "Damn, like, we did look what we've done since then. That's
Yeah.
so awesome." Like,
Yeah.
that was a turning point in our business for sure, and then last year, I feel like we had another turning point, which I talk about a lot. I kind of have, like, childhood stages of our business in my brain of, like, this was phase 1 of the newborn phase, and then when we dropped that client and really went out, like, totally on our own, um, that was kind of phase 2. That's when we entered, like, toddler phase.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is the same moment we went from hour-based pricing to, value-based pricing, which coaches, mentors had been telling me for years, and I just couldn't get myself to do it. I don't know what I think it was a lack of confidence in, like, going into a sales pitch, knowing how to, like, verbalize our value, and so I think you make a good point, like, once we kind of realized that uh, we had something really great to offer, it was easier to pull that trigger, but it's still we were still priced way too low,
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
too low,
Even
and
when I know when, like, we switched from I know we didn't wanna switch from hourly, and part of that big reason was, like, we didn't wanna lose the clients because we were like, "If we lose these people, we're done. We
we
don't
can't pay the
have a job,"
bills.
you
Yeah,
know? And this
yep,
particular client was, like, what, 80% of our revenue or something crazy like
yeah,
that? Like, it was really high,
yeah,
and so we were like, "If we switch to value base and give them, like, a 1 price, like, they're gonna lose it. They're gonna lose
yes,
their minds."
yep,
And so we drug our feet a little bit.
yeah,
Probably a
and
little
it
bit too
was,
long.
like, I joke that I blocked it out. I Sitting on the other side of it, it's so much easier for me to say to make that switch and to, like, suggest that and obviously sit here and tell everybody to raise their prices, unless you're one of my vendors, then please cut all of your prices. No, I'm teasing, but, s so I can't bring back the reality of how truly scary that was, but I know it was. I know that we fought it for literal years, and remember, we're accountants, we know what's best on the spreadsheet, and still we fought it for years and years and didn't know how to convey it, and we didn't and we had to pay the mortgage. I mean, both Kenzie and I pay our mortgages for our families. Like, our job is not just this is not just like a fun side gig that we get to do because we wanna go to Disneyland. Like, this pays the bills for us, and so it was very scary,
Yeah.
and yet, when we made that first switch, so this was back in, the beginning of 2024, right when we rebranded to the Profitability Project, this was all happening at the same time. Um, that's when we first switched to value-based pricing, and we were signing a lot of clients. Again, we were experiencing a lot of growth. We got lucky or, whatever you wanna call it, the rebrand did something for us. I genuinely don't know. But anybody that came in the door, we were like, "Yep, sign them, sign them, sign them, sign them, sign them." And we had this flat rate that we were using, and anybody that wanted to work with us got the same flat rate. Everybody. And fast forward a year, and our retention was horrible. And the reason for that is because we couldn't deliver. We were over promising and undercharging. And so I would say, yeah, we can do X, Y, and Z for you and do all these things. But then I wouldn't have the staff to do it because I couldn't afford the staff to do it. And it was just Kenzie, Becca, and I trying to like handle now 40 something clients between the three of us. But it's not just 40 something clients of like posting transactions and then reconciling at the end of the month. I'm talking we were doing payroll, we were doing billing, we were doing CFO stuff, we were doing all of these things between the three of us. And the clients kept coming. And then we were onboarding these clients and trying to give them a good experience and then doing customer service and like all the things on top of that. And what happened is we ended up giving the worst experience to those clients and it made our brand look really bad. And we were constantly chasing for new clients because they were coming in the door and then immediately leaving. Not immediately, but as fast as they were coming in, they were leaving because we weren't delivering a good experience. And it wasn't until that connection hit for me that I realized that raising prices is not some greedy, selfish move so that I can make more money. It is absolutely so that I have the overhead budget to deliver the kind of experience that I have promised that I can deliver and that I set out from the beginning to deliver. And one of my favorite pieces of advice that I got, there's actually a matrix. I should pull it up. Uh, if you haven't seen our course videos from 2 years ago, they're kind of epic. But there's one on pricing that I think every business owner needs to watch still to this day. And it talks about the matrix of like, and now I'm not gonna remember what it's called, but basically, it's like you kinda decide what kind of brand you wanna be. Do you wanna be the discount tire where you're the most budget friendly? Do you wanna be the most, technologically advanced? Do you want to be the white glove service, right? Do you remember sitting down with my dad and going through this matrix? I think this was a big moment for us too. It was when we realized that we wanted to provide the best service in the market that we realized we absolutely could not be the budget-friendly option for people. And what's really brilliant about that now that, AI has come out and done as much as it has and will continue to do as much as it has, is being the discount brand is gonna be really hard to compete with because discount is software at this point. People could pay $30 a month to have QuickBooks. That's a bad idea. QuickBooks doesn't auto reconcile, but, like, I know there's softwares out there, that claim that they can do all of these bookkeeping things, and a lot of them can. And if you are looking for the most budget-friendly option, then you should do that. But it occurred to us that there are people out there and there are customers who want more than just compliance. They want to feel taken care of. They want a real person. They want an onshore team. They want, all these things. We can still utilize and be as efficient as possible so that we can keep our prices down, but we can't compete with the budget friendly because that level of service comes with a cost. And so that was a big moment for me, in our own journey where I was like, "Man, like, I if I want to provide no, if I want to achieve what I set out to achieve and what I told people that I was willing to do for them, I literally can't undercharge or my business won't exist to serve them." And I don't know how to say that in a way that it's gonna click for other business owners. That's how it clicked for me. But that gave me enough confidence to pitch a higher price in the next meeting and then a higher price after that. Um, and I still think we're probably underpriced based on the fact that we still have a little bit of that hamster wheel moment. Um, but I can see our margins clearly and I watch them every single month, and that's on good bookkeeping. So that I know that the more sales that we get, the further ahead we're getting, not the further behind. And there have been moments in our business that the more sales we got, the further behind we got. So, again, like you said, if your clients don't feel aligned, or if your audience, if you're a product based business, if your buyers don't feel like the right buyers, if you feel like you're on a hamster wheel, the more sales you get, the more expenses you have. So you're decreasing profitability, um, or your retention sucks. It very well could be a pricing issue, not an expense or budget issue. I did a lot of talking. What do you have to add? I just took over.
Oh, I keep thinking about, like, this might be a lame analogy, but, like, when you go to the store and you, like, buy a pair of jeans, for example, like, if you buy the Walmart $10 jeans,
Yes.
like, I could ruin those the next day and it would be not a big deal to me. Like, I'd be like, "Whatever," They were $10 Walmart jeans. But if I go to the store and I buy $100 jeans,
Yes.
I'm gonna take care of those things
Yep.
over and over and over and over again
Yes.
because I'm gonna make sure that those things last an entire year.
Yeah.
Like, those things better last me? And so I think when you're pricing yourself, you have to think about that in a way of like, if you're paying a higher price, especially like, I think for myself, like, if I pay a cleaner to come clean my house and I pay her a higher price, I'm gonna expect her to do a really, really fantastic job, and I'm willing to pay that for her to do a really fantastic job. So that's kind of what you have to think, like, you have to have the confidence to be like, "I do a really, really fantastic job,
Mhm.
and people should pay me for that. I should be paid what I'm worth," right?
Yes.
Um, and then I was gonna say something else, I can't remember what it was. Anyway, I just think
Well,
I
and
left my brain completely.
yeah. I was just gonna say it's interesting to me. I have never gone to a client and said, "Hey, the reason you're not making sales is because you're priced too high." I have
No,
never had that conversation.
no,
Not once.
no.
And I'm not the marketing or sales expert, obviously. Getting more sales in the door is usually not my job. Um, but what I can tell you, again, from my own experience, is that I have watched business owners bring in $2.5 million in sales and still struggle to pay the bills. Um, I've seen them bring in $10 million and still not be able to pay the bills. And it is because margin sucks. And I said this on my TikTok video this month, but costs increase. all the time. And yet it's so impossible for us to go, well, if my cost of goods or my cost of service goes up $1, then I need to raise my prices $1.2 in order to maintain my margin. I don't know why we can't get that through our heads other than to tell you I'm right there with you. The maths, and still it's so hard to make that call. But then I also, going back to the fear of like the comparison, um, I this is a bad analogy, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Send me all the hate mail. It's fine. There are times when I'm budget conscious, and there are times when another factor matters more. Like you said, if I want jeans that are gonna last me, that make my butt look amazing, I'm gonna spend the extra money. That doesn't always mean that those jeans cost them that exact difference to make. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Like the Walmart, and here's the analogy that I'm gonna use. Kenzie and I, speaking of beading, we're talking about these crimp beads.
Bead.
Yeah,
Beady.
bead, bead, da da da. D as in dog. What's the phonetic? um, anyways, these crimp beads, and there's like the cheapy ones, and they piss me the hell off because they break every time I use my little fancy pliers.
Yeah.
They break. And then I discovered that there's these ones where you just push a little button and they do what they need to do. And so I went and looked for them and I found them on Amazon and I'm like, sick. It's like $30. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. There's not enough. Like, that's kind of pricey. Well, then I went and looked. Here's where the hate mail's coming. I went and looked on Shine, and the same exact beads are $4. The same pack, same manufacturer, it's the same exact product. The problem is that they are not going to get to me in 2 days. They're going to get to me in 7 to 10. And what you're going to tell me is that some child in Vietnam is losing an arm making these crimp beads if I buy them on Shine. I don't know.
I say
But
she.
here's the thing. They sell the same thing by the same manufacturer on both websites for different prices. So a child in Vietnam is losing their arm anyways, whether I buy it on Amazon or not. That's a really horrible thing to say. Why would you say that on a business podcast? I'm going to get canceled.
Good
But
thing
my
like
point is, my point is that the convenience of 2-day shipping is enough for people to spend, what is that increase?
$26. $26.
$26 more, which is almost 1,000%. Okay, let's say 700%. Don't ask me to do mental math. I'm going to count it. 700% more. And it's the same exact product, same exact quality. So even if you're not selling the highest quality, and I would hope that you are, but like, again, here we are. This is reality. The same product can go for different prices. My point being, that's why I say I don't care what your competition's doing. We just have to sell it in a way that gets them. We just have to offer 2 days shipping and they'll pay 700% more or whatever it is, right? So, um, sorry to make it unethical and a little bit scandalous, but like, I just need to highlight the point that it's not just quality that means that you should raise your prices. It is absolutely confidence, market. There's a million factors that can go into it. If you offer 2-day shipping or if you offer the thing that makes you the choice that they want to make, then they will pay through the nose to get it. And sometimes, especially for service-based businesses, all that needs to be is your personality. Sometimes people just want to work with Mackenzie and not Selena. I don't know, whoever else. They just like Mackenzie and they want to work with Mackenzie. And because they love Mackenzie so much, they will pay $10 more a month, right?
Yep.
And so your differentiator, that thing that makes you worth more money, doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to be the best in the business. I don't care really what you're doing. It can just be who you are as a person. And some people vibe with that better than others. And so pricing, again, competition is relevant. It's good context, but that is not I'm not looking at your competition to determine
No,
how you should price your service
no.
or product.
And how many times, just like in general, I won't say how many times I have because it's probably embarrassing. How many times have you bought a product because your favorite influencer or your favorite athlete or somebody else said that they loved it and it was like the best thing ever, or like whoever the owner of the business is selling the product and you're like, she is so awesome. I love her so much. Like, I will buy that every single time. Like, that's basically what you have to do. When you go in, if you're going to raise your prices, you go in and you go, listen, people are going to like me for me. And if they don't, they're not the right clients. And Joe and I have been through that. We have been the ones that are the people pleasers. We'll do whatever you say when you say it, no matter the price, like we will do it. And we have come a long way in the fact of like, we know our value, we know what we can and can't do. And like, if you don't want that, you can go use the software down the road. But the
Yes.
software is not going to give you an analysis of your books high level. It's not going to do a revenue recognition for you. It's not going to post your entries at the end of the year for your taxes. You're going to have to do that. So while you are paying $30 for the software, you now have to spend extra time doing stuff. So those are things that, like, as you go in for a sales pitch, are things that you can use. I think we also have a video, don't we have on like your secret sauce? That's what you call it.
Yeah. Mhm.
But we have a video on that too, so, like, we can link all of those for you guys, but Joey has a really good video about, like, what is your secret sauce? And like Joey said, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, it doesn't have to be this, like, grand America thing that you tell. You just have to choose what your secret sauce is and then roll with that, and that alone will bring in the right people to your business,
Yes. Yes.
regardless of price.
Another Exactly. And another great, analogy, I not analogy, but a situation that I've been thinking about a lot is we just hired 2 CPAs in the last 30 days. One, Madeline, our tax director, and the other is actually going to be our bookkeeping director. Welcome, Alicia. So excited for you to start on Monday. Can't wait. Could not come a moment too soon. Both of those women are impossibly qualified. They are brilliant. They have great experience, and the reason that we brought them in was to level up our client experience. Um, and it was a hit to our budget because experience comes with the salary, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
we can't just pay our neighbor down the street to come in. Um, and that's really when, again, another moment that it clicked for me that I was like, my cost to deliver this higher level of service uh, is going up, which means that because now I have 2 CPAs that are overseeing this operation, and our software expense actually also just increased because we've put in a lot of automations for our clients, so that they can get better reports on a timely manner in real time. That costs us more money, and so those things need to come with a higher price tag. And again, it's not because Kenzie and I want to go to the Bahamas later, although can't say that I don't want that. But like I don't raise my prices just because I need to afford a vacation. It's because the cost to do this business and deliver that level of service, and we are constantly trying to increase the level of service that we're providing. It usually comes out of our pocket first, and we have to recoup it. So, yeah, and I forgot about that secret sauce video. It talks nothing about math. It talks nothing about, what you're offering as a business. It actually is all about how to gain the confidence to start selling yourself just as yourself and recognizing that that's enough for some people. You don't have to have 2-day delivery. You don't have to be convenience. You don't have to be anything. You can be all of those things, but just being Joey and Mackenzie is enough to get some people to wanna work with you. And that's a super cool place to be, but it's also a necessary place to be in order to raise your prices. You have to get a little bit of that delusion behind you. And I get it. Again, when you have to pay the mortgage, it's really hard to make that switch, but I'm telling you, you will never pay the mortgage because there won't be margin to pay the mortgage unless you raise your prices. So it's okay if the wrong clients get pissed off because the right clients will find you and you'll have the capacity to take the right clients on. Um, because you got rid of the ones that were clogging up all your time and energy. So, um, okay, final thoughts here. I'm gonna say a couple things to know if you are underpriced. We've kind of talked about these, but if your expenses are cut as far as they can be cut and you don't have any capacity to take on more sales because your team is maxed out and you can't afford to hire, you're underpriced. If if making more sales makes your budget contract rather than expand, you're underpriced. If your gross margin percentage is below industry benchmark, and if you don't know, give us a call, or your cost per client is too high, you're underpriced. Um, there really isn't a magic benchmark that you need in order to determine what your prices are. You just need to know I mean, I do want you to know your gross margin and your cost per client, all inclusive cost per client. Um, That's a good place to start, and then after that, I just need you to, like, go do 50 jumping jacks in the mirror and tell me how awesome you are, and then that's kind of the next step. Then you need to meet with your therapist, I don't know, like, whatever you need to do, that's kind of the fun part where we get to play around with it and experiment. Um I also always recommend starting with new clients. You don't need to go overhaul and go piss off all your current clients and be like, "Oh, just kidding. We're offering this new price and you have to pay it or get out." Not recommending that.
No.
Start with new clients. They
Yep.
don't know what your prices are, you know, put it on your website, whatever, it doesn't matter. Price increases are not new to people. They're aware that some people have been grandfathered in. They're aware that they can get it cheaper somewhere else. This is not unique to you or your business if you start raising prices or change prices for new clients. But start with the new clients and then audit your most expensive clients. And when I say expensive, I don't mean the ones paying you the least. I mean the ones that are paying the least per amount of work that you're offering them. There are clients that pay us our lowest prices that are more profitable than the ones that pay us the highest prices because we do less work, you know. So, do that and then get really clear on what level of service or what quality of product you are trying to offer, what that costs you. Again, all in, include all the overhead that would be needed to run this business the way you want to run it, and then use that information to back into a pricing number. I think that's also really helpful. Um, and then my last piece of advice is have a third party who is not emotionally invested in your business look at it and tell you what they think. They don't have to be a finance professional, although that's always helpful. But you just need someone who's a little bit more neutral to make sure that you've gotten the emotion completely out of the way before you sell yourself short again. That's always helpful. Um, so I would say those are my pieces of advice. Kenzie, do you have any pieces of advice for business owners who have probably suspected that they have a pricing problem? They know they need to fix it. I mean, at this point, I feel like if you've made it this far in the episode, you're probably needing to up your prices.
Yeah. Um, I would say this is gonna sound a little crazy, but my biggest piece of advice is to do it. Just do it. Because this is the thing is, like Joey said, you don't have to do it with all of your clients. You don't have to go to every client and go, "Hey, we're raising our prices. Sucks to be you, but you gotta pay it or get out." What you do is you just say today, you sit down with your finance professionals, preferable, and you say, "Okay, I wanna raise my prices. What's my gross profit? What should it be? What do I need to raise my prices to get there?" Make that decision and then start with the new clients. When you get new clients in, say, "Okay, this is what we can offer. This is our pricing." And then as your old clients, as you start to kind of this is what Joey and I did, is you start to kind of like evaluate your old clients. You determine like yeah, I'm gonna raise my prices for them, and I don't care if they leave or not. Like, they can stay and pay it, or they can leave, and I'm gonna be okay. And you kind of start that when your contracts start to come up for renewal, you start to have those conversations with your clients in a nice and respectful way. And I think we have found more times than not when we have those conversations with our old clients or clients that have been with us for a while, they don't even blink an eye. They literally go, "Yeah, that makes sense. Sounds great. I'll sign my contract," because we're providing them the service that we have promised, and they see the value in that. And so I think my biggest piece of advice is to like jump head first in and just do it, because the thing is there's risk in raising your prices, but high risk, high reward. And if you're only doing it for new clients, you're still going to have your client base, right? So like really it's a good stepping stone to just start with new clients as you get them in the door. And I think that you guys will find you're going to get the the right clients in the door and people will pay for your service.
Yeah. They're not saying no to you because of your price. If they're saying no, it's because you didn't show them the value, um, or the ROI, or solve their problems appropriately. People always find a way to pay for what they want, and if it solves the problem that they are trying to solve, then they will pay for that, and it's not a pricing issue. And I just have learned that with our own, again, with our own journey, that it's not because our prices went from one number to another. It's because I got more confident, I got more strategic, I got, um and also, like, again, we did increase the value. We did improve systems. We did start offering a little bit more. So there's like, yeah, the longer you're a business, the higher your prices should be because you've figured it out. You're no longer, struggling to like learn how this business should operate. Um, Things are a little more streamlined, right? And I think my piece of advice, I agree with Kenzie 100%. Just start, like, just do it with one client. I had a coach one time that was like, sign 3 at this price, and then by the time you've signed 3, raise it again, and then sign 3 more, and once 3 more have said yes, raise it again. Um, and I thought that was really interesting because it's like, oh yeah, like, if they're saying yes, then I haven't pushed pricing too far, then it's still not a pricing issue. Um, but the other thing, uh that I think is really beneficial is, um, to remember. I'm like, I can't remember what I was gonna say. Here's my piece of advice, is to remember that nothing that you do in business is permanent. I think for me, I talk a lot about, like, my business OCD, where I'm like, we have to overhaul the whole thing or not do it at all, and that is so untrue about business. Just overhaul one client, start with one client, like Kenzie said. The rest can stay where they are, but I'm telling you, the confidence will come when you get one client at the new price. All of a sudden, it's really hard to offer that level of service to the clients that aren't paying that lower
Yeah.
price.
Yeah.
And yeah, pretty soon you're like, "Oh, wait, this is actually, I love working with this client that pays me more, and I'm willing to go the extra mile for them, and they get the best service out of it." And then, of course, you're worth more. And then when you raise it again, you'll feel the same way about this new client, you know? You just need one. But again, just remember, just because you pitched one person a certain price doesn't mean that you need to do that with the next person or the person after that. Change your mind 8 million times and continue to improve as time goes on. Um, no one is out there holding a sign going, well, she quoted me this and she quoted me that.
Yeah.
No one knows. You
Yeah.
can change your mind, you can change your direction, you can change your thought process or your differentiator as many times as you want until you get it right. So don't let that pressure keep you from trying it. I think that was a part of why I didn't try it for so long, is I was like, well, if we're gonna be that, then we gotta be that for everybody. And you can do it a little bit at a time. And that's what we've done over the last 2 years, and it's working for
Y
us. So,
yeah.
um, all right. Anything else, Kens, about pricing? Just do it. I love it. Do you think Nike will come for us on that one?
He gets the credit for that. I'm not trying to do um,
But Nike, if you're listening, if you want to sponsor this podcast, please feel free. We're both athletes.
we'll
Like,
wear your
go
shirts
listen
as
to our
we
last episode.
um, no, um, I think that in this world, it's really easy to compare to other people, and it's really easy to be like, "I'm not as good, I'm not this, and I'm not that," but have the confidence as a business owner and as a service provider or a product-based business, like, have the confidence that you are the best out there and that you can provide a kickin' A service or, the best product in the market and raise your prices, and, like, I will be your biggest cheerleader for any of our clients. We are your biggest cheerleader, and nobody's gonna look at you and be like, "You're actually crazy for doing this." But walk into these conversations of, like and have the confidence that you guys are the best in the business and that you guys can rock whatever service or product that you are providing. I just think that, like and raising your prices will give you that confidence, but it's kind of a two thing, like, when you raise your prices, you're gonna get the confidence because you're like, "Oh my gosh, people are paying this," but you kind of have to have the confidence to raise your prices to pitch
Yeah.
it. So it's
Yep.
kind of this, but, like, please just be confident in what you can provide to your customers, and that alone is gonna go a long way for you and your business and setting up your prices.
So true. I love it. All right. I hope everybody's having a good summer. As always, if you have any questions for us, you want to get in touch, you would like to book a free discovery call, we would love to get to know you and your business and see if we could help. Go to theprofitabilityproject.com and you will be able to fill out a form that will get you in touch. You're also always welcome to reach out to us on social media. We are on Instagram, The Profitability Project LLC, LinkedIn, Joey Albertson, and
Talk.
TikTok. Joey Albertson, I think, is what I've been using on TikTok. Um, you know how to find us, but we would love to chat with you. And free discovery calls, we can do a pretty in-depth analysis and let you know if pricing is your issue. So we would love to talk to you and see if we could be a good help. Otherwise, thanks for joining, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.